Winback Farm of Delaware is proud to introduce O'Brien and Ushua Award winner Southwind Frank to its lineup in 2023. The farm is already home to Triple Crown winner and Dan Patch winner and Horse of the Year Glidemaster, Ushua Award winner and Meadowlands Pace winner He's Watching, Battle of Waterloo winner with a mark of 149 and one sports column, and Yonkers Trot winner with earnings near $1 million, Top Flight Angel. Also standing at Winback of Delaware, Badlands Hanover, Classic Card Shark, and Ronnie's Bags again. For more information and a complete lineup, visit winbackfarm.com.
I've been lucky enough to use Performance Builder since its inception. I've used it for a long time. Can't say enough good things about this. I start the horses right after I get them from the sales. I know Performance Builder is one of the main ingredients. I mean, we feed our horses well, but this really is a great addition to anybody's program.
The greatest day in harness racing happens Saturday, August 5th at the Meadowlands Racetrack. Over $3.2 million in stakes races, including the top 3-year-old filly trotters and colt trotters in the $500,000 Hambletonian Oaks and the $1 million Hambletonian. Fans can enjoy the hat giveaway, live music by the Craig Saylor Project, carnival rides and games, food trucks, pony rides, and more. Doors open at 10 a.m. with first race at 12 noon. Details at playmeadowlands.com. Must be 18 plus to wager. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
From Jenna's Beach Boy to Perfect Sting. For the past 30 years, Joe Holloway has conditioned a slew of standard-bred superstars, including just last season when he won his 10th Breeders' Crown with the 2-year-old pacer, Ammo. We're going to get an update on him, as well as find out who could be the next big name from the Holloway stable in today's Twos in Training. Joe, the last time I was here and we were doing a Twos in Training segment, you had just been elected into the Harness Racing Hall of Fame. And now, this year, here I am again, and you were elected into the Delaware Sports Hall of Fame. Right. So that is so cool.
Yeah, it's always an honor to be honored, by your peers and whatever, to be recognized for your, achievements. But it was more cool because my brother's he's much bigger in sports than I ever was, so he's in the Delaware Hall of Fame, and I think we're the only brothers in there, so that's pretty cool.
That is really cool, yeah, because of course you are a native Delawarean, and you went to University of Delaware, is that right?
Yeah, I went there. I graduated there, but we're not going to talk about my academic achievements.
Fair enough. That's right. So we won't talk about mine either. So let's do that. All right. So now I talked about in the intro about you winning 10 Breeders' Crowns, and I think probably the most famous or the most historical would be, of course, the Perfect Sting win in 2020. He was going for 10 for 10 that season, wins in a dead heat. So tell me, what were your feelings going into the race? How much pressure did you have on you to say, oh my God, I want this to be an undefeated season for this horse? And then tell me about when they crossed the finish line.
Well, the pressure you put on it, for me, is self-inflicted. I mean, there's probably, 98% of the trainers, not so much from Marty Granoff or George Siegel. It's self-inflicted, and you want that. And certainly I wanted the perfect season. The horse was great, but you got to hope for everything to go right. I mean, like you say, that may be the most historical, but you go back to Jenna's Beach Boy won 3 in a row. And, the reason that's so tough is you got to be good on that given night. You can't afford to be sick. You can't afford to do this. You got to be good on those times, and that's what was so tough. And to finish off an undefeated season, even though it's with a dead heat, it's never easy. You need things to go right a lot. So, and during the race, he came through, and at first I thought he had it, Then you watch the replay, and I said, well, maybe he didn't have it. And then you go back to thinking it was a long photo. Finally, in the end, I was satisfied with the dead heat.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. Now, so much fun watching him race. And actually, let's get an update because he has babies on the ground, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure how many have been born yet, but he had a full book of mares, and he did a really good job getting them in foal. So he's going to have quite a few babies out there. And, they just started being born, but I'm not sure the number that are already on the ground yet.
All right. Well, that'll be fun because maybe next year we'll be talking about perfect sting babies that you bought from the sale.
I hope so. I got to stay working that much longer. But after that, I don't know.
All right. Well, let's talk about your numbers because I know we just talked about some Breeders' Crowns and you had one last year with Ammo. But before we get his update, what are your numbers overall in your barn? Like how many horses do you have? How many 2-year-olds?
I think there's 12 2-year-olds and 16 horses. But for years, I've never carried that many horses. Once I stopped doing a lot of race horses, which was a long time ago, I think the most 2-year-olds I ever had was 17. So I've never carried a lot.
Okay, so let's talk about that one 3-year-old, of course, who is Ammo, and he won the Breeders' Crown last year, and just saw him in his stall, totally snoozing away, relaxing. I love to see that, a horse so relaxed that they can just start snoring. He trained yesterday, right?
He trained yesterday. Like I said, we had it today where we were going to try to train a little bit, and everything's not perfect because of the situation here, but he trained yesterday. He trained in 53. He's good. He's ready to go, and I'll probably train him again, maybe one more time or something. I'll qualify him, I think it's at the end of the month. Okay. We have it built in. 2 qualifiers, a week off, and then a race. I'm not going to go to the Meadows. I'm going to go to, I think it's Pocono is the second sire stake.
Okay. All right. Now we'll move on to those babies. We're going to start with our fillies. We've got 4 of them. We've got 3 colts. Let's start with Always Over Rainbow and Always Be Mickey. Out of Somewhere Over Rainbow, she's a $65,000 Lexington purchase. And, of course, Somewhere Over Rainbow, world champion. Of course, you know a lot about her and the sire.
I know her, the sire, her aunt. I had Rainbow Room, and, of course, everybody remembers Rainbow Blue. I really like the family. Al Crawford texted me Easter and asked how she's doing, and I sent him back a text. He says, sounds like a lot of optimism that you're hoping things start going right because she's not doing that well. And he read between the lines, and I said, yeah, she's not, but I don't know. If you see her, she's great looking. She's got all the attributes. She's great gaited, and she's got the speed. She just doesn't really like her work at the moment. But, the family's been quirky. And her mother was one of my favorite horses of all time, and probably the fastest filly I've ever had. Even faster than Sting, yeah. She was the fastest filly I've had, and she was awesome, but it's not like she was easy either. She wasn't easy for George, and she wasn't easy for me, but she was great. So, and she deserves to have a good one, so, it's going to take some work, but we're going to get her there. It's my job to figure out what makes her happy. Like most of you. Women can be difficult.
How did I know that was what he was going to say? That's all right, though. Okay. All right, moving on to another little woman in the barn. It's Scarborough Fair, who actually, we have a name change on her. Her name was Daniki, and she's a $50,000 Harrisburg purchase, and Always Be Mickey out of Thou Shall Dance. This is a first foal out of Thou Shall Dance.
First foal. There isn't enough pedigree in the family, so she could be. She's training well. She's training extremely well. But with these 2s and trainings, that's why I'm not a huge fan of them, because things change. Like, I'm hoping Rainbow comes along, and I'm hoping Daniki stays good. The ones that are good, you got to hope they continue on and don't disappoint. And the ones that are mediocre, you hope they advance. And the ones that are bad, you hope you can sell them soon.
Yeah, I do want to say and give myself a little bit of props because when I did text Joe, he's like, oh, man, I don't like doing those. Because at this point, how do you know? So, but he's like, for you, anything. And I thought, I'm kind of a big deal. Yeah. So thank you, Joe. Okay, now let's check out Spring Wish, a Better's Wish out of Nikki Beach. And actually, this is the first crop of Better's Wish.
First crop, so you don't know a lot. They look a lot like the Better's Delights, a little bit short-legged and a little bit stocky, and that's her body type. There's one that fits the mold. I said she's doing really well, but being small, being short-legged, Is she doing well now because we're, in 15 or whatever, or is she going to continue doing well? You hope that they continue to do well. So, like I said, the ones that are doing good, you hope they keep going on. And, the others you hope improve, but don't know for sure, not till they get tired.
Yeah, what's it like going into a sale, though, and then you're going for a first crop of a stallion? I mean, I just feel like there's so much unknown there.
Well, there is. All you have to go by is, won their race record. Myself, I'd like the sire to kind of stamp them, You don't know when you don't know what to look for in the first crop, but you hate when you look at them and they're all over the map because you figure maybe you didn't, put enough in there or something. But nobody knows for sure. So it's a crapshoot.
Okay, now our final filly that we're going to talk about is Blue Pacific, and actually talking about stamping your horses. This is a Sweet Lou filly, and we know Sweet Lou stamps his foals, and she looks like her daddy.
Yeah, she does. You're not going to mistake who that is. But same thing. She's training well. Another one that I feel has enough pedigree that could take her to the right level, but got to hope that she continues on.
Now, she was a $53,000 yearling purchase from Harrisburg, and actually, Miss Jones is the dam. You trained Miss Jones, right?
Yeah, I trained Miss Jones. She wasn't great. Crawford's on the piece, Marty Granoff, and I don't forget who else, but I think she made 100, 125. So wasn't horrible. But didn't get to the right level. But I think she had enough speed that she could produce one. Hence, that's why this one only cost $53. If Miss Jones got where she should have, she'd probably cost $153.
Right. Okay, now we're going to go on to the boys, and we've got Nuclear, sold as Just Wanna Be Mickey, a $37,000 Lexington purchase, and of course it's an Always Be Mickey.
It's an Always Be Mickey. Joe Hurley's rolled the dice, bred it. I had his sister last year. She disappointed. I mean, she trained down great, did everything, and she won in 51, made 60,000, but just not where I hoped she'd get to. And I'm hoping maybe he can do a little bit better, but I didn't overpay for him, I don't think.
Okay. All right. I love the honesty here, right? So we've got also a Newsroom who was sold as There's Always a Way, and Always Be Mickey, again, a $30,000 Harrisburg purchase. And this colt is huge.
Yeah, he's big, but he's very good gated. And he's push button to drive. I definitely have to hope he continues being. He's my best colt. I think he could be a top colt, but like Marty Granoff already told me, I overpaid for him. I paid $30. He said, with this pedigree, you overpaid. But I don't know. And he goes, if he does turn out, you're going to look smart, but I don't think so.
Oh my good. You know what? This actually gives us a reason to go back and watch this season training again, because we're hoping that that's not correct. We're hoping that we see these horses and they could be diamonds in the rough.
Well, that's it. I mean, but I train horses, so I have to be an optimist. I mean, looking at it realistically, you know everything that can go wrong. I mean, as you say, in the Breeders' Crown, Swoop, that works for Linda Toscano, he was up there when I won with Divine Caroline. And he goes, there's a million things that can go wrong. There's only one thing that can go right. And that's what it is. So
right.
It takes a lot to be the colt at the end of the year.
Yeah, no, definitely. Now we're going to check out our third colt here. Ain't No Stoppin' Time. A Lazarus out of Art Stopper. I'll let you talk about Art Stopper, the dam, and her babies. But I do want to say Art Stopper, if this gives you any clue, is in the Harness Racing Hall of Fame as a broodmare.
Yeah, but that's only because she had two. But the two that she had were good. I mean, hers have been good, or they can't make a face like a horse. Yeah. So... the filly, and she made $1 million, and of course Always Be Mickey, was a great horse. But this colt, he's beautiful, he's good gated. I hope he continues on along the line of the other two and doesn't go by the wayside like some of the others.
Now, when you go to a sale, and like you said, you have 12 this year, and I know you keep a small stable, but obviously there's some kind of goal in mind. So do you go to the sale and say, oh my gosh, like I think I should have 3 pacing fillies or this many pacing colts? Like, is there a number in mind?
No, never a number. There's a budget, and we've exceeded it a couple times. More just on a horse like Sheer Terror cost $270, and Marty doesn't pay $270 for a horse. I mean, we never usually go that high, but we'd come up the year with Sting, and he had fun. And I remember turning around, like I hadn't put a bid in at 180, and I said, "Do you even want me to bother?" He said, "No, I want you to buy him." So I said, "I can get that part done." But, we don't usually pay that much, and I don't begrudge anybody, because if you hand any trainer a sale catalog and tell them pick out the best horse you want, you're going for the one with the most pedigree and the best looks. So I just haven't. I've had that luxury in my life. I've bought more in high-priced colts, but it seems to do better with the mid-range. 100, and that's mid-range. 100,000. That's not really, but so. No, but never a number of horses. I mean, I'd like to buy a trotter here and there because I don't get a lot of trotters to train. So that's the tough one for me to buy, because that's really tough to find one in a mid-range, because they go expensive. So I don't get my pick of trotters.
Well, you've been training horses, wait a minute, since, you want to give me a date? You want to give me a year when you started?
Jesus was in high school.
All right, we'll go with that. So when Jesus was in high school, we know, because I'm old school, I grew up third generation. I used to go to the barn, and when we trained, it was 3 trips. I mean, it could be 85, 90 degrees out, and we were walking our horses with 2 coolers on to walk them out. Things are so different now. So you've obviously gone along with the times and changed with the different training techniques. So I'm wondering, did you balk at it? Did it take you a while to change? Or, basically, or were you the innovator?
I don't know about innovator, but I think you have to change, and horses are different. I mean, like you say, I graduated college in '78, and I've been doing horses prior to that. So I've been in the horses since '68. And the looks of them, the style of them, they're all so different, And then even then, when I had race horses, I worked for David Rovine. I mean, that's 30 years ago now. They're just different, So the best story I had is Bob Suslow had Donna Rail and Active Grace with Stanley Dancer. So I spent a lot of time with Stanley that winter in Florida. And he told me he thought Donna Rail was a good horse. And he said, "I think this colt I got now is a good one." And he shows me the book, and he's training down, and he's on the same schedule as Neverly Pride. Neverly Pride, I think, was 2 in '69, but that's close, approximately. And he's training down, and he goes, "He's training just as good as Neverly Pride." And I said, "Stanley, I don't know what amazes me more is you train the same way you did, that's 25 years ago, because this was 1996, I believe." I said, "You train the same way you did 25 years ago? How in the hell did you get Neverly Pride to go that fast?"
Yeah, you talk about Stanley Dancer stories all day long, because, great stuff.
He didn't, but I feel you have to adapt, because they're different, And now, like you say, the 2 coolers, I used to be big on that. But now with the studies coming out and stuff, and they don't want the horses to continue to sweat, and the dehydration factor. So we know more about it. Feed's different, nutrition's different, everything, it's changed a lot.
It used to be you train your horse and you bring him in the barn, give him 3 swallows, that's it. Now it's
and they've proved it. Give them a half a bucket, give them what they want right now. So, you have to adapt.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're going to get left behind.
So then, just to tie things up, because I think that this is a great way to top off the interview, what would be your best advice to someone, I don't know, getting into the business and they love the sport, and, what would you say to them?
You mean a young kid that's going to work in it, or an owner?
Can we do both?
Whereas an owner, I feel when you first start, you really should go with some race horses. I mean, if you want to buy a small piece of a yearling with somebody and be in a group, but you should go with race horses because you get more immediate satisfaction. At this stage of my life, it doesn't do anything for me, and I'm looking for just the stake horses. But, it gives you more instant gratitude. Who wants to pay bills all year and then they don't turn out like I say, and there's disappointment. At least you can go over the next Saturday and watch them race. So I think the owners need some race horses when they first get in. And then if they're getting into yearlings, being in partnerships, because the expense, it costs more to feed a horse than I used to charge for training for a long time. So, it's just with the expense, being in partnerships, and it minimizes your risk. So, even wealthy owners now, you see most of them, they may buy a high-priced pacing filly on their own, but they'll go partners on high-priced pacing colts. So, but that's, and for a young guy, I think, okay, if you start out and once you learn the basics, I think you should work for a top stable and see how it runs. Maybe mine runs different because I have so few horses, it can be flexible, but work for a stable, work for Tony Lanya, work for somebody, learn the schedules, learn how to, because tell you what, with the 3-year-olds, the biggest thing is management. With the 2-year-olds, they run for pure joy. The ones that are good, they go for the excitement of it. And, not that I agree with everything he says, but like John Campbell said that for years. He goes, anybody can have a good 2-year-old. Let's see if they can bring them back at 3.
Yeah, I like that. Oh, and Tony Alanya, if you're watching, Joe Holloway just sent some people to your barn to go work.
he needs the help anyway.
Yeah, right, exactly. Thank you, Joe. Always fun to hear your stories and love your advice. Thank you again. And thank you so much for doing this. Thank you. Yeah.
See you in 4 years from still training.
Don't forget to subscribe to the free newsletter at harnessracingupdate.com. I'm Heather Vitale for HRU.